You're welcome.
Let me
Got in. It was quite an effort, and I've been on 2 Zoom calls today.
Okay. Well, why don't you introduce yourself to us and let us have a well-rounded understanding of you and what you've been doing and for the last 15 to 20 years, and give us some insights if you would. I yield.
Okay, well, thank you for having me on. I used to be an election integrity activist for the last 17 years, but I quit that some time back, realizing that it's time to work towards a solution. So I became an election transparency activist. And I started in 2004 is when I fell down the rabbit hole. I was a cluster captain. I had 4 precincts, and my job was to get the vote out. And I was up against an Indian reservation, and I caught some really big hanky-panky going on that led me into an investigation. And then I got involved in a 2 years later, or a year later, it was a bond election. It was a $2 billion bond election, and we caught them rigging it. And we were in court for 9 years on that case. And the transcripts, the documents are incredible. From there, in the 2016 election, that election was a primary presidential, and I caught the results being very strange, where Hillary Clinton won the vote by mail by 60%, and Bernie Sanders wins the precinct vote by 59%. I knew that was impossible. It broke the rule of large numbers. Bernie Sanders sent in his lawyer. They asked, who's the best guy in the state of Arizona? They named my lawyer. They called up my lawyer, and he says, no, you don't want me, you want Breaky. And so I wound up suing on that one. I claimed that the voter database was hacked. The results were bizarre. And it really launched me on a national level. Since then, I've been in 18 different states. I'm in litigation in Florida. I'm really a specialist on verifying elections. Most people do not know that over 90% of all the scanners out there that count hand-marked paper ballots, these machines don't count the ballot. They count the picture they made. There are 2 official records now, the one that you filled out and the one the machine counted, which is a digital exact copy front and back. And I'm a specialist for all 4 vendors, studying them. Been threatened, have been sued by ES&S just for collecting the manuals. Dominion, I've worked pretty hard because I was in Maricopa for 2 weeks for their logic and accuracy. And then also for the whole election, I think they built a great system, except when they did the hand count audit, it made me think that maybe I'm part of watching election theater go on, because their audit was worthless. Basically, they picked 50 batches of vote by mail ballots, which are unsorted before the election, okay? And to me, it's like saying, hey, we got 9,600 batches, which they had. They counted like 2.1 million votes, and they picked 50 beforehand. And it's like saying, hey, folks, I got 50 sheriffs. I'm putting them at these 50 banks. And guess what? You can rob anything else because we will never check anything else. It's very easy to do. I was on the Fraction Magic team with Benny Smith. Benny Smith is on my board. Fraction Magic is learned to be, I guess, called scorecard now. We've always called it Fraction Magic since we found it a long time ago. So basically, I am a transparency activist, election scrutineer with lawyers all over the country I work in. I'm specializing right now, Florida, Arizona, Michigan, North Carolina. I put on hold Pennsylvania because right now I'm focusing on 3 states. And the first 2 is Arizona and Florida. And like I said, I'm in litigation in Florida. And hopefully that litigation may be over by June or July. And we feel confident that we got a really good case because I got some of the best attorneys in the country. My attorney was Barack Obama's attorney, who also went to work for Bernie Sanders. And he actually wrote the book on elections and recounts. He was in the room in Florida in 2000 when they made the bad decision there, and he ran the Al Franken recount. He's a remarkable guy, and we're a remarkable team. I also have on my team in Florida Susan Pinchon. I don't know if you know who she is. She was in the movie Hacking Democracy, and very instrumental in our Florida litigations and her knowledge for all the years that she also has been working. So, boy, I'm a book of knowledge on this stuff because I got a great rear view mirror and I'm not afraid to litigate. I am not a lawyer. I am a paralegal election, also called an election scrutineer. And welcome to the Scrutineer Club. That's all I can tell you all. Thank you.
Hey, John, question. How does the computer determine by a photograph of the ballot if it had a fold in the ballot?
You know, I saw that guy, you know, I think that's very feasible under forensics because, you know, sometimes it will leave a crease. I don't know that as a fact. I've never looked at them that way. And, but that's something I'm talking to Ray Lutz about. Ray Lutz is a guy who invented a computer program that will take the ballot images and recount them. And that's something I need to get with him on. That's not my specialty.
Because that is a major allegation that many of the ballots were actually manufactured in China and sent here and used to manipulate the vote count. So, and they were found to be without a crease.
That would be very hard to do. What worries me is the private vendors. And I'll give you a really good example. There's one vendor in this country who works all over the country. I've been watching them for years. They're out of Maricopa County. You ever heard of a group called Runbeck? No?
I haven't. Maybe Susan has. She's out there in Maricopa County.
Well, anyway, Runbeck in Maricopa County and all of in Pima County, because they only do big counties. They don't want to screw around with little counties. So far as I know, they may only do two or three of the counties because they're doing Georgia and they're doing other states, okay? Runbeck in Arizona will mail out the ballot. Well, somebody has to do that. But the thing that bothers me is that they receive the ballot, okay? Then they run their ballots through a Pitney Bow to take a picture of the signature. And then they will send that signature over to Maricopa. Maricopa will have a person on a computer taking that picture and matching it against another picture. Do you see the problem here? Something needs to be a wet document, something that you can tell is not a forgery, okay? Because you're not going to file a records request on Runbeck and ask them. They're an interesting organization. And you know, and one of the things I'm very interested in is the work that people are doing in Maricopa, looking for ballot harvesting or ballot dumping or whatever you want to call it. And you know, if you check through, and then like I said, the hand count audit that they're so proud of, I sued them twice because that hand count doesn't mean nothing. You cannot select something to randomly count until they put in your hands and commit the results. Now they need to commit them by batches. If you're going to pull batches, they need to pull it anyway, because with vote by mail, what really makes it bad on accounting, it makes it very easy to steal. They're not sorting these ballots by precinct. If 1,000 ballots come in, they will run the 1,200 ballot batches in a Dominion system. They'll put it in the box. And if you open it up and say, well, gee, we want to audit a few precincts. Well, they got 1,600 boxes of ballots. And their precincts are quite large. They used to have 1,043 when they were smaller. Now they've reduced it to 743. And it's just impossible to audit at a precinct. And then, you know, 94% of all the vote in Maricopa came in through an envelope, okay? And it's not sorted. And only 6% was cast on election day in a voting center where you could go to any one of 171 voting centers. And realistically, you know, that machine would recognize your ballot, because when you go in there, you put your ID below, and they have what they call ballot on demand. And it will print a ballot for you. you walk over to the printing station and say, Mr. Brakey, can I see your ID? You show it to him again, and you walk out, you fill out the ballot, you put it in the machine. Now, if you vote earlier, it goes into an envelope. And so the audits aren't worth nothing. And I'm very aggressive to let them know that. And so, yeah, we need to get those images in Maricopa County. And I understand now that the Board of Supervisors is surrendering them, which they had to the, I understand, the President of the Senate and the Chair of the Judicial Committee. Does everybody understand here who's from Maricopa?
Is that something new? I know they were sort of stalling at choosing an auditor.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, what's that auditor going to do? I know a guy that you can sign, they can sign an agreement with him. He'll keep it all confidential or whatever. His name is Ray Letts out of San Diego. He has a computer program that he puts, he's developed. They use computers online because it takes a lot of computing power, okay? And to be able to go through them. And he'll be able to sort them by precincts, count them, and give a report. He has to make 2 runs. And once he gets the ballots figured out, he's got to figure out the ballot style and how because the way the system works. I mean, first off, just to let you know, the old system that we used to vote on was optical scan. And optical scan was really a pretty crummy system, okay? It was invented before World War II. It was called punch cards. Somebody figured out that you don't have to punch a hole in the card, just make a dark spot. And then the light, when it hits it, will be absorbed. If it's not filled in, it bounces back. They call that mark sense technology. That technology left no evidence behind. That was a pure black box. This one is a good box because if we get the images, and just in closing, without these images, without verifying these elections, my belief, elections are not any good unless they're transparent, trackable, and publicly verified. Those images are public records. And just in closing is that there are 2 official ballots now. The one that you filled out and the one the machine took a picture of. And they have to be married together in Maricopa because that's the law, because they're using electronic adjudication, which is not a bad thing. It's the transparency that sucks, because without that, there could have been a fractional program running, and they could steal with impunity the way the audit is done because they claim they audited it's good. They could be stealing other 9,550 batches because they made 9,600 batches. It's incredible. It's the 2nd largest voting district in the United States. And like I said, I've been dealing with Maricopa since 2006. I've sued them 4 times from 2006 to 2016. I sued them 4 times.
Well, from what I've heard from a couple of the legislators, they were talking about matching the paper ballot to the photo of it or whatever.
Very hard to do.
Very
Very hard. What you could do is you get the images, you totally count those, then you match them against the reports, and then you randomly pull a scientific method to go back and say, hey, you know what we want to do? These precincts that we opened up, we know that the image is married to the ballot. Now we know that this image is in box 654. We want to go get it. We know this image is in the same box farther down, or a box 1255. Match them like fingerprints, because that's what it is. It's a picture of the ballot. And when you have unique marked ballots by people, you can match them like fingerprints. And if they don't, then you know you got something bad. But
Well, there was an accusation here. A guy said he had his source told him, there's a guy that works in the elections department, and he told my friend that there was more votes counted than actually were cast, that the numbers don't match.
That's
Possible?
well, it's an easy thing to check, because they declared, and then you get the voter rolls. Maricopa used to be one big department, recorder, election department. And in 2018, they changed that.
Right.
And the recorder has one responsibility, which is the voter rolls and making sure all that happens, because it's supposed to be a check and balance system. Okay, debit, credit. And that's what the recorder has to be able to say, I know how many people voted, and then the other side, we know how many ballots we got. It should be really close.
The recorder also is the one who signed up people to vote. So they put
Yeah.
fake addresses down there for fake people. And this one woman, Liz Harris, has been going out with her team, knocking on doors and finding that these addresses don't exist. They don't know if the people exist. Thousands of them.
You know who I suspect that something like this is happening is Runbeck is involved. And I'll tell you that they don't have to, you know, let me just go a little deeper. In 2002, they passed the Help America Vote Act. $4 billion. They always made believe that all that money went to equipment. It did not. Half the money went to nationalizing the voter database to make it have 9 matching points, okay? And those 9 matching points give them the ability to know if you like anchovies on your pizza. There was an actual article written in 2006 by the LA Times, okay? And then the Democrats then merged NPG and VAN together and built the same thing. So both parties had this incredible system that they know everything about you and that they know how to get to you certain ways. And so basically, if you move from Arizona to New York and you register to vote there, they'll contact you right away. Now, at that point, they can look at your record and say, you know, Jose's been voting in Arizona for 4 years, and you know, he never got online and he never checked his registration. And you know, we have pictures of his signature online. It would be easy to go ahead and take a picture, send that in back to ourselves, then send that picture over to the recorder's office where they can verify a picture of the signature with another picture. I mean, this is theory, and that's where I'm very interested in the work that these people are doing in Maricopa, because I think that from what I'm hearing, they may have found something. And that is my hypothesis of what possibly they may have found. Because one thing about election fraud that really happens, you know, to keep a secret, if 3 of us have it, the only way that secret is going to be kept if 2 of us are dead. Okay?
Yeah,
And
right.
so I find that usually programs like Scorecard or Fraction Magic and the really big things that happens with people that are not even in that office. There's all secret software. It's we don't got the codes. I mean, this is pathetic that how we have private vendors running elections, and a lot of the election people there. And in Maricopa, you know, what really surprises me is that Maricopa really doesn't run their own code. It's Dominion people. They have 2 Dominion people there. And one of those Dominion people used to work for Maricopa. And you know, in 2008, me and a guy named Jim March with Black Box Voting were in there. Jimmy pulled out a pair of binoculars inside the room, and we couldn't get too close to things back then. And he followed a wire all the way around the room. And he found that they had a wire plugged into the mainframe computer, and there was this guy on a table with a laptop plugged into it. And then that guy had a secret code thing that he could send things over the internet, because we took him to court and we found out he only programmed 2 counties for Sequoia back then, which was Cook County and Maricopa County. And in Maricopa County, he had to be there to work. And that's how the system was set up. And we never got much more because his lawyers dragged him out and said, that's it, he's done talking. And it's a bad situation. We don't got elections that are very trackable and verifiable.
Did you watch the hearing when Giuliani's team was here in Maricopa?
I was very much interested because Dr. Shiva, I'm the one who taught Dr. Shiva about fraction magic and explained to him, because I've done Massachusetts 3 times. I went up to the first time after the Brown, after Kennedy died. In that election, I was sent up there to investigate it. And Massachusetts is a very, very weird state. You know, when you go totally blue or totally red, that means you got the ring. And that means corruption abound, okay? I'm from the state of Maine, so I know New England really well. Even though I've been living out in Arizona since 1976.
So do you